Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin tonight in Nunavut, where nearly 40% of all teachers experienced violence at the hands of a student this year. The figure comes from a new survey conducted by the Nunavut Teachers Association. The CBC's Nick Murray has the details.
The Nunavut Teachers Association conducted the survey last month. 218 of its members responded to it. The survey showed that 83.5% of Nunavut teachers experienced some sort of violence this year. Another 90% of teachers witnessed it. The survey also showed when violence happens, some teachers are not feeling supported by the union or the government of Nunavut.
And unfortunately, we've had teachers hiding in classrooms because they're being attacked, right? And that's not acceptable.
Justin Matchett is the president of the Nunavut Teachers Union. He says teachers want enhanced training from the government and more resources to deal with different types of situations.
If any other department in Nunavut did a survey like this and the results came back that 90% were witnessing violence, they would probably shut the department down and say, hey, we got to figure out what's going on here. This is unsafe. People can't come to work like this. It shouldn't be accepted that teachers do that.
Matchett said the union launched the study because it suspected violence was continuing to go largely underreported in schools. In 2022, Nunavut's Department of Education launched its long-awaited school violence tracking system, an online reporting tool which requires educators, staff, and students to report incidents as they arise. But in its inaugural year, the system was largely underutilized. Matchett says it still is.
From what we're seeing and the response in our survey is that over 50% of our members have told us that they're not reporting it.
Matchett also said the union's concerned about the normalization of violence in schools, not only among staff, but also in the eyes of students. Nunavut's Department of Education says it's reviewing the survey. The department says it will have data available from its tracking system at the end of the month. Nick Murray, CBC News, Iqaluit.
RCMP and Whitehorse are investigating after a cyclist was hit on the Alaska Highway. Here's the CBC's Maria Tobin with the latest.
Police now say this morning's crash was a hit and run. It happened around 8:30 this morning in an area known as Rabbit's Foot Canyon. RCMP are still looking for the driver of a black Chrysler 300 or a similar vehicle with damage to the front end. They are warning the public that if they do see the vehicle, to not approach the driver, but to instead call police. Police have yet to release any information about the cyclist. We still don't know the extent of their injuries, but police are still investigating. A traffic collision expert and other units have been on scene as well. And while the Alaska Highway was closed for a good chunk of the day, it did reopen mid this afternoon with police still being on scene. They are asking anyone who uses the route to just drive with some caution. Megan?
Thank you, Maria. That was the CBC's Maria Tobin reporting from Whitehorse tonight. The Fort Smith Correctional Centre is off the chopping block. Northwest Territories Finance Minister Caroline Wozniak made that announcement yesterday. But is the decision just for now, or is it permanent? As the CBC's Carla Ulrich tells us, it's a question on people's minds right now.
The men's corrections facility has won this battle, but will they have to win the war? That's the question Mike Couvret is asking. He's glad to hear the jail will be staying put for now.
I think this is just a temporary reprieve for the community. As I'd mentioned earlier in some of my discussions, the government seems to have it out for, or when they're looking for positions and things like that, Fort Smith seems to be the first rock that they lift up to try and find something under. And we may have won a skirmish here, but I think the battle is yet to be played out. So I'm hoping that our community leadership really takes this as a warning shot across the bow, as they say, and really prepare ourselves for a long battle with trying to protect our community interests.
Chris Westwell is staying cautiously optimistic. He says that more tough cuts are coming if the GNWT wants to follow its fiscal sustainability strategy. He's also concerned about the emotional impact rash decisions can have on residents.
I don't think there's ever really quite an appreciation for the emotional toll and trauma that happens when this kind of stuff comes along, whether for individuals, for communities, certainly for families. There are people who are at risk of losing everything, losing their investments, their homes, their family positions, breaking up families. It's such a terrible experience to have to go through something like this, and certainly it's a real reminder sometimes when this is how government works, and we hope that we have a government that's running things sustainably, but also listening to the public demands and doing what's necessary to run the programming that's needed, and also respecting the employees and the institutions themselves.
Westwell says after a tough couple of years, the territory needs some economic wins. He hopes the GNWT will have some real solutions very soon. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Smith.
It's not only about a cash transaction here, it really is about government and how we can be a consensus government. So again, with all of that gratitude, Mr. Speaker, I'll end there. Thank you.
And with that, the NWT's operations budget is officially passed. It is the first budget for this assembly of MLAs, and in the last couple of weeks, they made 41 changes. They added $13.3 million back in. Many spoke today about how exhausting the process has been, but in the end, they all supported the budget. That includes Denny Rogers, the chair of the Standing Committee on Accountability and Oversight.
To say it's been a bit of a grind these last couple of weeks, I think is a bit of an understatement. Certainly, I know we've, for those of us who it's our first time going through the budget process, certainly a learning experience and a long experience. Again, a big thank you to the staff that bared with us through this process. I was going to say something cheeky about the Minister of Finance, but she works way too hard for me to do that, and I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit scared of her as well, so after the past 3 weeks. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to be supporting this budget today, and listen, it's a balance. I know, it's a balance when we come as members from our constituents. We all have things we'd like to see in the budget, things that maybe we aren't so interested in the budget, and we have to get there as a group. We understand that there's, we have some fiscal restraint that we need to look at for this government based on what's happened in previous governments, and I think we're heading in that right direction, and I guess I commend everybody on that. Having said that, of course, I'll continue as I have in this House, and I'm sure other members will as well, to advocate for things that are in the budget, certainly partially. Some things are in the budget wholeheartedly, but things that we'll continue to work towards. And Mr. Speaker, I'll speak to a couple of those. Certainly on our housing. Housing is one of our major, one of our main priorities in this House. I know how passionate and certainly how hardworking the Minister of Housing is, and I know I'm going to see that transferred to her department as well. But what I will say is please spend the money. Spend the money. We have units that need to be built. We have units that need to be repaired. We have people sitting and waiting for these units that have been promised these units, Mr. Speaker, and they're still waiting to get in them. So let's ensure to do whatever we have to do to get that money spent.
That was NWT MLA Denny Rogers speaking about why he decided to support the GNWT's operating budget. The budget received unanimous support in the Legislative Assembly today. Rising affordability was a key issue at a bargaining conference this week between the Public Service Alliance of Canada and the Nunavut Employees Union. The two unions met in Iqaluit before they negotiate with the government of Nunavut for a new collective bargaining agreement. About 20 delegates from all three of Nunavut's regions took part.
We need the employer to address the fact that their NNA formula is broken, and people need to be compensated in the communities for the high cost of living and the inconveniences of not high flight costs and no housing and high cost of living, to make sure that an NNA reflects the realities of each individual community so that we can put workers first. And people and workers, they work hard, they're going home at the end of the night. They shouldn't have to struggle at the end of the month to decide, are we putting food on the table or are we keeping our lights on? People need to be people need to be compensated fairly for the work they're doing.
The unions declined to disclose their specific demands, but PSAC says it'll help the NEU with negotiations. The conference came as the federal government announced pension reform legislation that will allow PSAC members to retire after 25 years of service. No date for negotiations with the GN is set, but the NEU wants them to start as soon as possible. The European Union's ban on seal products is being reviewed for the first time. The EU implemented the ban in 2009. It later introduced 2 amendments that allow Inuit and other Indigenous people to sell seal products under certain conditions. Talrumik is an Inuvialuq artist in Tuktoyaktuk who sells seal products. She says she's refused orders from Europe because of the administrative burden and required paperwork.
It would just make it so much easier. There was a more straightforward way to go about selling our product. There is interest, there is a demand, just based on a lot of the questions I received through my social media platform. People are interested and they want to support Indigenous artists.
The review will consider comments from the public online at the European Commission website. It wants to hear from those being affected, like local artists and hunters. The full report is expected to be finished by 2025. A new national process could provide some vital information for those on the front lines dealing with homelessness. It offers a standardized way to track deaths among people who are living on the streets. This is data that most jurisdictions in Canada don't collect. Carissa Donkin has that story.
They were someone's mothers, fathers, son, and daughters. It's hard to see them looking at us as nothing.
Sabrina Robichaud rides her bike to a mural in downtown Moncton every day. She made the mural to remember people who've died on the streets, many of whom were her friends. Robichaud doesn't have a home herself, but she still finds a way to record the names and track down photos from when they were alive. She keeps a list of everyone who's died on the streets over the last few years and says that list now includes more than 200 names of Moncton's precariously housed.
So we don't actually know exactly how many people have died while experiencing homelessness here in New Brunswick. The province just doesn't track that information, and most Canadian jurisdictions actually don't, with a couple of exceptions. But that could soon change. And that's because the Public Health Agency of Canada and Statistics Canada have come up with a new method of tracking residence type when someone dies. And coroners and medical examiners across the country could start tracking this information as soon as this summer, which is welcome news to Naomi Nichols, a researcher who's been trying to track this information in Peterborough, Ontario.
Having a better sense of the actual numbers of people who are losing their lives while they're homeless, even if homelessness is not the direct cause, but it has exacerbated their underlying health conditions, for example, I think is really important in terms of an evidence-led advocacy strategy.
Back at the mural in downtown Moncton, Robichaud says she sees struggle, love, and caring when she looks at the faces of the friends who she's lost.
I wish half of them knew how much they were loved and cared and how much they meant to people. A lot of us, we don't think we matter to a lot of people because most of our families and stuff pushed us away because of our addictions or our mental health or our struggles.
Carissa Donkin, CBC News, Moncton.
You promised me that you won't look back. There's gonna come a time you'll feel the darkness. You don't let them win.
How does someone just disappear? How can I be in love with something that was never there?
We are not a dying people. We are here and we are speaking.
I had a vision that I one day would be free again.
It is my right, it is my privilege, and it is my heritage.
Mukshak palilaw kapta awla na latpo kugyang mulo amalo kokbiu yamo kinga diwaling mulo pangolo asyak miu muna toy muina daile takpa nga kimukshak palilaw sumo mutay ma buat taling ni pilariyo lak sumo Inuit amichwalu walang muta.
When we see Team Canada on the world stage, we're witnessing pure greatness. What we don't see is their struggle. We don't see Maggie McNeil navigating her anxiety, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander getting cut from his high school team, or Ellie Black hearing she's just too old to compete. What we don't see makes us who we are. We're all bravely facing the odds in our lives, and our bravery is our victory.
Who's this then?
Inspector George Crabtree.
We'll just be needing one more thing.
Well, this is delightful.
So, you want to watch CBC News Explore, a new kind of news channel. Here's how to find us. We're on the CBC News app, on CBC Gem, and on your smart TV. Stream anytime. It's always free. CBC News Explore.
Inuvic's pool is closed again, this time for structural issues, and there's no word on when it'll reopen. It's the latest in a series of issues with the facility, and the situation highlighted a long-time desire. Some residents want the town to develop other swimming areas, like the river. The CBC's Des Loreen explains.
In the summers, kids go down there regardless of whether there's like safe zones or lifeguards or whatever. You're always going to find kids down there swimming.
The river is a popular swimming spot on the warm nights, but there are no safety measures.
It's nice to see them having fun and having a good place to cool off, because there were some pretty hot days last summer. But just knowing how swift that river is, and we've had a lot of losses in the river, it's pretty scary.
The town says they'll need to train their lifeguards in open water and educate the public before using the river as an alternate swimming area.
Just because it's just off the shore and we might have a lifeguard there, they still need to understand the inherent risks of moving water. So we want to ensure that we are doing it safely while still providing alternatives.
As for the pool, the town is concerned it could be shifting as the permafrost is melting, and that could be causing issues with the foundation. It'll be assessed this summer and hopefully repaired soon. Des Loreen, CBC News, Inuvik.
A new Apex Bridge is one step closer to becoming a reality. Tower Arctic Limited will handle the construction and installation of the bridge. The Inuit-owned company won a contract from the city of Iqaluit. The bridge is located over the Niahungu River. It was constructed nearly 70 years ago. Iqaluit City Council voted unanimously to award the contract during a council meeting on Tuesday.
The objective of the project is to replace the existing Apex Bridge with a new single-span modular truss bridge. The proposed bridge would be a double-lane bridge equipped with a pedestrian sidewalk or walkway on one side of the bridge.
The city says recent inspections show that the bridge is in fair to poor condition and has reached the end of its lifespan. Construction is expected to be completed by the fall of this year. The contract was awarded for over $2 million. Now, the city also voted to award another contract to Dillon Consulting Limited for more than $419,000. That company will focus on project oversight and site inspection for the bridge. Students gathered this week at Mildred Hall School in Yellowknife for a community hide camp. The CBC's Alistair McCready went down to check it out.
I'm Ty Lafferty. I work at Mildred Hall as an Indigenous educator. We're here at Mildred Hall doing our hide camp. It's really, really important to me to keep this tradition alive. I'm so thankful that I get the chance to share my knowledge of what I know, and also it brings me back to when I was that age doing the same thing. And so it's really, really cool to be able to bring students in, especially students that I work with a lot. It's really, really cool to have them indulge in the culture like I was.
My name is Andrea Harding. I'm the Regional Indigenous Language and Education Coordinator with YK1, and today we are having our second annual hide camp. It's been a fantastic experience. All of the students have been able to engage in the traditional activity of tanning hides, which typically is often done out at a camp, and so we're able to bring that urban experience to all of the students in the community here, which is great. Hoping to be able to pass on some of those teachings from our elders, and through an act of reconciliation be able to engage more of the Yellowknife at large in these activities with us.
And so I had two students with me working on the hide. I had Drew and Drake.
My name is Drake Peinanakina, and I'm from Tuktoyaktuk, and I'm 12 years old. That's my teacher, Mr. Ty, and One of my closest friends named Drew.
And so they've been with me all day doing different things, from the different process of the hide, from even doing grouse today. So they've been doing all different things for me, learning how to spear throw, learning how to do all the different things.
It's really nice to learn about this stuff when we get older, and it's a nice experience, so then when we go out in the wild we can do it.
We really have the best of the best in the elders here, and so it's really cool to learn the knowledge from them, as well as give off the knowledge that I already know. But we really want to get as much people out here as we can, so whoever wants to come check it out, I think it's the most amazing thing to check out. And if it's not your culture, or if it is your culture, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it's just an amazing place to be, amazing energy that we have going here. We have smoking hides, we have the scraping of the hides from the start to the end, and then we also have different hides that we're getting done. We're doing all different things, and so it's honestly the coolest thing to check out, and it's really, really cool to understand the culture of this place.
Sports fans in Yellowknife have a lot of options if they want to watch the Oilers game tonight, and I suspect plenty of people will be tuning in. Rowan Fleury introduces us to the businesses and the people who are cheering on the team tonight.
Looks like a 3-on-1. Zach Holt scores! A first shot.
It's Game 3 tonight for the Stanley Cup Finals, and bars and restaurants are preparing for the rush of customers.
We usually don't play the game here.
Benson's still preparing in hope of a big crowd tonight.
Like I say, we generally don't, because we don't market ourselves as a sports bar. But the nights have been wild. They've been so much fun here. We've been filling up every night. The energy and the buzz and stuff around town, and just in general, has been great.
She's not the only one feeling that way. Mark Henry says that energy is making its way to the Copper House too.
So the spring, kind of summertime is typically slower in Yellowknife for the restaurant industry, but we are seeing an uptick with the Oilers games on. People are passionate, people are into it.
And that energy is likely going to continue as we head into a Game 3. With so many people out and about, bars and restaurants say that means more money for them. This super fan has watched Edmonton Oilers since...
Well, I've always been Oilers fans, I guess. Since that great one. We're in Grisky, yeah?
Oh yeah, we're going to tie it
They
up.
have
and
to.
we're going to go all the way.
They're going to.
Bars and restaurant owners, like the fans, are hoping the Oilers will turn things around to keep the series alive. Just being out here in downtown and talking to some of the business owners, it's clear lots of extra orders and lots of reservations when the games are on. And they say overall it is just amazing and a really good feeling for Yellowknifers to cheer on the Oilers. Rowan Fleury, CBC News, Yellowknife.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. We leave you with a performance from the All-City Band in Whitehorse. The ensemble is mostly made up of high school students, and they all took the stage today at Arts in the Park. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
When we see Maggie McNeil, she's an Olympic gold medalist gliding through the pool. What we don't see is a person who refuses to let anxiety keep her from the starting block. When we see Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, the man's unstoppable. What we don't see is a skinny kid who got cut from his high school team. We don't see Maud Sharon being forced to change weight classes after she won Olympic gold. Ellie Black hearing she's just too old to compete as she prepares for her 4th Olympic Games. Or Andre DeGrasse dealing with all the doubters, including himself. What we don't see makes these athletes who they are. What we don't see makes us all who we are. We're all bravely facing the odds in our lives, and our bravery is our victory.
Are you ready to be entertained?
Stand-up comedy, best comedians from across the globe.
Oh, great.
An incredible lineup.
Canada.
Are you ready? Oh. Are you kidding me?
CBC's got the best in stand-up comedy.
That's pretty unbelievable, man.
It's a scam. It's a scam.
No f***ing way.
Ooh,
it's a bit spicy. It'll change your life.
Catch it all free on CBC Gem.
well done.
Y'all give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
What happens when we transform the country into one massive obstacle course? 20 total strangers are about to find out.
Okay, game on.
Relationships will be forged and crushed.
I want to rip their heads up.
In an all-out battle for glory.
Oh my God. I'm glad that there's cameras around. Yeah, me too. Do it in. Replay.
Only one thing's for sure. They are not ready for what's coming.
Let's go, baby.
That same woman from the SEC keeps calling. Can I give her your number?
No.
Michael Lazaridis, want to come and answer some questions?
Why is the SEC looking at us?
I'm sure it's nothing. Yeah.
I'm just wondering how you convinced all these engineers from around the world to come all the way to Canada. Do you know what the sentence is for multi-million-dollar stock fraud?
It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
All of this, just single detached homes.
Yes.
What do we know? I think we can explain.
About that with Andrew Chang. Watch free on CBC Gem.
I did not know what my future would look like.
The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I was so excited when they said I got to do an interview with you.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
You promised me that you won't look back.
You don't let them win.
I had a vision that I one day would be free again.
We are not a dying people. We are here and we are speaking.
Moments that are so on trend right now. Ticket pricing, artificial intelligence, being a Swiftie. Commotion, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.